My girlfriend boasted on social media that she would stay single until she found someone worthwhile while she was still living in my house. I replied sarcastically. I changed my status to happily single, and in less than a minute her post disappeared. My name is Adrian, I'm 27 and I've been dating Sierra, 26, for 2 years. We've been living together for 1 year. In everyone's eyes, we were the perfect couple with coordinated photos, trips full of selfies and nice dinners. The reality was different. Behind that facade, our relationship was becoming unsustainable. She seemed more interested in likes and attention than in what we shared. I gradually realized that I had gotten myself into a situation I never wanted to be in. That same morning we had argued over something silly. She complained that I hadn't taken out the trash the night before. I told her I would do it after work because the bags weren't even full, but she dismissed me with contempt. You never do the little things, Adrian. That's why I feel like you don't try anymore. I let it go even though her words stuck in my head. It wasn't the trash that mattered, but the tone she used to talk to me as if it were proof that I was lazy. During my lunch break, half asleep, I opened Instagram. There was one of those aesthetic posts with a pink background and cursive letters. Single until someone proves they're worth my time. Know your worth, queens. And the author was none other than my girlfriend. Instead of getting angry, I laughed. Here I was paying rent, cooking, doing my part, and she was promoting herself as if she were a free agent in a draft. So I made my move. I left her a comment. Good luck. Have fun with that. Then I changed my status to happily single and tagged her. Precise, no shouting or scenes, a surgical strike. Yes, my status said single, but rent doesn't pay itself. It wasn't an immediate move, it was sending a clear message. Her post disappeared in less than a minute, but the damage was already done. Her phone was surely burning up and so was mine. 12 missed calls one after another. The group chat with her friends looked like Times Square on New Year's Eve. I just muted everything and finished my lunch. When I got home, I found her sitting on the couch, arms crossed and looking furious. As soon as I opened the door, she snapped, "What the hell was that?" I left my keys on the table and replied, "Your announcement that you're single or my agreement with you." Her jaw tensed. It was just a phrase, Adrian. All girls post things like that. Yes, all single girls, not those who have a boyfriend in the same apartment. She rolled her eyes as if I were exaggerating. You're being dramatic. It didn't mean anything. Great. Then my response doesn't mean anything either. Great. Then my response doesn't mean anything either. That silenced her for a few seconds, but then she snorted. She grabbed her bag and said, "I'm staying at Marisol's tonight. Maybe you'll realize how ridiculous you're being." I smiled calmly at her. Take your time. She slammed the door shut. The old me might have run after her, begged, played along, but not the current me. I ordered a pizza, turned on the console, and watched the game calmly. The old me might have run after her, begged, fallen for her game, but the current me didn't. I ordered a pizza, turned on the console, and watched the game calmly. It was like a mini vacation. While she was probably ranting to Marisol, I imagined her face checking my status on social media, enraged. The best part was doing everything she hated in a single night, playing for hours, leaving the pizza boxes on the table, enjoying myself without her. And yes, some will say, why didn't you end it right then? Well, because with someone so delusional, you don't just end it, you let her sink on her own. It's much more satisfying to watch them burn themselves with their own drama. My phone didn't stop vibrating all night. First her, then notifications of all kinds. Voice messages saying I was destroying something good. Me with breadsticks in my hand just thinking, well, for whom? She wanted to get attention by saying she was single, but I ended up being the villain for wishing her luck. That was Olympic-level mental gymnastics. The truth is, if there were a competition for ignorance, Sierra would be guaranteed a medal. I slept like a baby that night, no snoring next to me, no passive-aggressive messages about how to fold the laundry. Close. For the first time in months, I had peace and I knew this was just the beginning. With someone like her, one post wouldn't be enough. She was going to double down, but I was ready. Because when you stay calm, sarcastic, and unflappable, there's nothing that scares someone who thrives on drama more. That Instagram post wasn't a simple quote, it was her opening move. And my comment was to throw the ball back with a wry smile. She was looking for attention and boy did she get it, but not the kind she expected. The next morning I woke up to about 20 unread messages read, half from Sierra, half from Marisol, her best friend and self-proclaimed defender of the female gender. They all said the same thing, that I humiliated her, that I embarrassed her, that I should apologize. The best one was from Marisol, "A real man doesn't behave so childishly on social media." I stared at that message on the screen and burst out laughing. A real girlfriend doesn't go around posting on social media that she's single, but hey, details no. I didn't give it another thought. I made coffee, took out the trash almost gladly, just to contradict the complaint she had made hours earlier, and went to work as if nothing had happened. If she thought that manipulating me with guilt through her best friend was going to work, she didn't know my ability to remain indifferent. At noon the phone vibrated again. This time it wasn't Marisol but her mother, Sweetie. 7 missed calls. I decided to answer just to hear what script she was reading from. Adrian, honey, she said in that concerned mother's voice she uses when she wants to sound tender. What's going on? Sierra is devastated. She says you attacked her publicly. Attacked her? I replied in disbelief. It's not like I'm landing in Normandy. She posted a coffee quote and then posted that she was single. I just confirmed what she said herself. You know how girls are on social media. It's for fun, she tried to justify. So cheating is also for fun because what it looks like is an advertisement. She fell silent, with no words prepared for that retort. Finally she sighed. You should apologize. She's very upset. She knows where I live. If she wants to talk, let her come over. I hung up. The truth is that Linda was always the original source of Sierra's excessive ego. She treats her as if she were a divine gift to men and expects everyone to be grateful just for being around her. I wasn't surprised that she came to her defense. It was the only thing she knew how to do. That night, far from feeling bad, I decided to enjoy myself. I ordered wings, played a few hours on the console, and then logged into Discord with my friends. They couldn't stop laughing when I told them what had happened. One even said to me, "Bro, you're free. Don't waste it." And he was right. Meanwhile, Sierra was still at Marisol's house. The group chat lit up again. This time it was Marisol who wrote me a wall of text saying that I had betrayed Sierra's trust and humiliated her publicly. According to her, my comment was comparable to broadcasting her secrets on national television. I replied only once. Real girlfriends don't pretend to be single on the internet. Then I blocked her. Apparently she couldn't stand me giving her back her own logic. Some might say I was mean, but I didn't start anything. I didn't wake up one morning thinking about declaring that I was single while living with someone. That was her idea. I just mirrored her energy. If she could post phrases, I could leave a reminder of reality. On the third day the storm began to subside. Sierra stopped writing and fell silent. Marisol no longer bothered me. And Linda probably went back to nagging Daniel, her husband, about his long working hours, but I knew the matter was not over. Sierra never lets anything go. She always escalates conflicts until they become a full-blown spectacle. And I had a front-row seat for the show that was about to unfold. That Friday when I came home from work, I noticed something strange as soon as I opened the door. A perfume I hadn't worn. Muffled murmurs from the living room. My instinct told me she had returned. I wasn't wrong. There she was, sitting with her arms crossed and Marisol at her side like a squire. They looked at me as if I were a defendant entering their makeshift courtroom. We need to talk, Sierra began. I left my keys on the counter. Talk about what, that you're single or that I confirmed it? Marisol jumped in before Sierra could answer. You humiliated her, Adrian. Everyone saw it. You made her look ridiculous. I smiled wryly. She did that all by herself. I just left a comment. Marisol's face turned red. Sierra snorted in annoyance because it seemed I didn't understand her point. It didn't mean anything, Adrian. It was just a post. Perfect. I replied calmly. Then my response didn't mean anything either. What's the problem? They insisted on dwelling on it as if I had committed an unforgivable betrayal. The most absurd thing was that they acted as if I had to earn their forgiveness when in reality it was the other way around. I didn't give them the satisfaction. I remained calm, watching them get tangled up in their own words. After 10 minutes of going around in circles, I let them go. You're done. I have pizza saved and a new game waiting for me. Sierra got up in a rage. You don't care about anything, do you? Exactly, I replied with a smile. I don't care about Instagram quotes or fake tantrums, much less having to babysit their delusions. Marisol gasped as if I had slapped her. Sierra stormed out, dragging her along, saying I would regret it. I closed the door and opened the pizza box. It was the best dinner in weeks. I could see it clearly. That had been only the first round. She tried to manipulate me with her army and failed. She expected me to run after her, begging for forgiveness. Instead, I was calm, with the remote in my hand and dinner in front of me, but I sensed that it wasn't over yet. Sierra never does. A couple of days later, I got a message from Tyler, a friend who works at the same marketing company as her. He's the kind of person who doesn't get involved in drama, so if he was texting me it was because something serious was going on. Hey, I thought you should know. Sierra had lunch all week with that new account manager. Yen, they seem too close. I read it twice. The same Ison that 2 months ago she herself had said gave her bad vibes. It seems those vibes weren't so bad and now they shared a table every noon. Curious, I checked his Instagram. He had already deleted all our photos as if he wanted to erase me from his history, but I was still there. I went to his profile and saw that for 3 months he had been liking every one of his posts, even the selfies at the gym at 6 a.m. with phrases like, "God helps those who get up early." The guy was practically drooling behind the screen. I saved screenshots of everything. Not because I planned to expose her publicly, but because with people like Sierra, you need proof when they decide to rewrite history. That same night she texted me for the first time in days. "Are you ready to talk like adults?" I couldn't resist the temptation. I replied, "Sure. I'll invite Ison too. This time it's just between us." She read the message. Absolute silence. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. 2 days later, I came home after work and what I saw when I opened the door was so absurd that I had to hold back my laughter. At the dining room table, sitting as if they had organized a diplomatic meeting, there were Sierra, Marisol, her sister Sophia, and her beautiful mother. 4 pairs of eyes fixed on me, with that mixture of reproach and superiority, as if they were about to judge me in an international court. I closed the door slowly, left the keys in my pocket, and with the utmost calm in the world I said, "Geez, nobody told me there was a board meeting today." Linda wasted no time in speaking up. With that voice laden with false authority. "Adrian, this has gone too far. Sierra made a small mistake, a slip-up, posting that phrase. It was no big deal. You're overreacting and acting as if it were something serious." I calmly took off my shoes, leaving them by the entrance, and looked at her without getting upset. "Perfect. So, let me see if I understand. Saying publicly that you're single while living with your boyfriend under the same roof is just a small mistake. Well noted." The next to speak was Sophia, with her arms crossed and the air of a defense attorney. "You're focusing on the wrong thing. She loves you." I leaned on the counter without losing my cool. "Oh yeah. Well, she has a pretty strange way of showing it." At that moment, Sierra finally opened her mouth. Until then she had remained silent, but now she spoke with tears in her eyes. And they weren't tears of sadness, but rather those tears of frustration and anger that come when someone wants you to play their game and they don't succeed. "You ruined everything. Ever since you made that comment, Yen has distanced herself. She told me that I seem dramatic, that I convey problems." I laughed. I couldn't help it. "So you admit there was something with Yen?" She shook her head immediately, almost desperately. "No, there was nothing. We were just friends. But he was interested and now he thinks I'm toxic and it's all your fault. I could have had something better and you sabotaged it." Something better. That was the audacity with which she spoke while still with me. I thought about it in silence and was surprised by her brazenness. She continued to raise her voice as if that would validate her excuses. "I wasn't going to do anything with him. I just liked the attention. What's wrong with that?" "If there's anything wrong with it," I replied curtly without further ado. "Next topic." Then Linda tried to insert her speech in a melodramatic tone, as if she were reading a script. "We were already planning Thanksgiving, Adrian. I even bought a bigger turkey with everyone in mind. They can't ruin everything over something so silly." I shrugged it off. "Don't worry, I'm sure he likes turkey too." Linda's face changed immediately. It was clear she wasn't expecting that response. It was Sophia who took a deep breath and spoke in a solemn voice, as if she were delivering a verdict. "She needs to stay here until she finds another place. She can't stay on Marisol's couch. That's not healthy or fair." I stood leaning against the wall, calm, and replied, "That's too bad. But let's not forget that she was the one who decided to leave, remember? She told me to think about how silly I was being. Well, I thought about it and I didn't like the result." That's when Sierra got up from the sofa suddenly with contained fury. "All right, but then I'm going to take everything I bought for this place." I pointed to the entire apartment with my hand. Go ahead, take everything if that makes you happy." And she did. She became a hurricane, going through every corner. She destroyed everything she found. The coffee maker disappeared in seconds. A cushion from the couch was forced into a bag, and she even ripped the shower curtain off as if she were ransacking a cheap hotel. Then she went into childish mode, then it moved on to the childish phase, opening all the remote controls and taking out the batteries, keeping a handful of them as if they were a trophy of war. Finally, it stood in front of my PlayStation. "I'm taking this too." I contributed. I stood in front of it calmly. "You contributed by buying a single game. You can keep the disc if you want, but the console stays here." She replied with an argument so ridiculous that even her mother was embarrassed. I also bought food and you ate it? That money could have gone towards the console. The silence in the room was brutal. Linda looked down and Sophia pretended she didn't know her sister. In the end, they had to put their things in trash bags because no one had thought to bring boxes. When they were about to leave, Sierra turned around. Her face was red, her eyes swollen, and her voice full of resentment. You're going to regret this. No one else is going to put up with how boring you are. I smiled and remained calm. We'll see. They left, dragging bags and leaving the apartment half empty, but in a silence that felt like glory to me. I threw myself on the sofa, tried to turn on the TV, and discovered that without batteries in the remote, I had to get up to change the channel. I laughed to myself. If that was her big move, all she had proven was that I was right. She needed chaos, drama, and attention to exist. Without that, she was nothing. And at that moment, I understood that it wasn't going to end there, not because I wanted her back, but because people like Sierra don't know how to disappear quietly. If I was already backing down and she was still living at Marisol's house, it was only a matter of time before she planned her next show. The irony is that even I expected it. And it came sooner than I thought. On Monday morning, Hassan, a friend of mine, sent me a link without saying anything else. I opened it and there was an Instagram story of Sierra staged like a play. First slide, sometimes the trash takes itself out. Second, improving in all aspects of life. Third, when she can't stand your shine. And the finishing touch, a photo with Ison in a fancy bar, glasses raised as if they were celebrating $1 million contract. The caption read, "New beginnings with better energy." I burst out laughing. If she thought that was going to hurt, she had forgotten who she was dealing with. I didn't feel jealous, I felt relieved. She had just confirmed in public everything I already knew, but the best part was in the details. She had tagged the place. And it turns out that my cousin Miguel works there as a bartender. That same night I received a message from him. "Bro, your ex is here with some guy. They're on a date, but she won't stop talking about you. It's really weird." I told him to keep me posted. An hour later he texted me again, "Bro, she keeps comparing you to him. As if she wants to convince herself that she's better off with him. The guy looks uncomfortable. He wants to run away." The image formed itself in my head. Sierra striving to paint me as a jealous loser while Ison swallowed hard, realizing she had fallen into the quicksand of drama. Miguel told me that she even said, "Adrian never took me to places like this." And of course my cousin laughed because I had done just that and she called them pretentious. She also told Yen that I was too insecure to let her have male friends, which was a joke. She always had lots of them and I never said anything to her. What I couldn't accept was that she deleted photos of us as a couple while another guy liked her selfies at the gym. At the end of the night, Ison looked like she wanted to disappear under the table. Miguel told me that when Ison asked Sierra about her last relationship, she launched into a monologue of almost 20 minutes where she painted me as an emotional monster. Her big evidence was screenshots of our conversations, where I simply asked her to contribute something to the rent, since she hadn't paid a single penny in 6 months. That was, according to her, proof of abuse. Ridiculous. That was, according to her, proof of abuse. Ridiculous. In the end, Ison lost his patience, paid for his drink, got up, and left her alone with her half-finished drink. And right there she made the biggest mistake of the night. She tried to flirt with Miguel without knowing that he was my cousin. He didn't beat around the bush and blurted out, "You know that Adrian is my family, right?" Sierra turned pale and ran away. The next morning I received a message on LinkedIn from all the places possible. It was Yen. "Hey man, I want to apologize. I didn't know you two were still together when she started approaching me. She assured me that you had broken up months ago. I'm not that kind of person. I just wanted to clear things up. Besides, I'm warning you, she's been saying also, just so you know, she's going around at work saying that you were abusive and that she was looking for protection from a real man. Good luck, bro." I laughed to myself as I read it. The irony was perfect. She had criticized me for being boring, and yet she ruined her date with Yen by turning it into a session of complaining about me. I couldn't have written it better myself. I saved the message as evidence in my evidence folder and decided it was time to send her a subtle reminder that I wasn't the one ending up crying at cocktail bars. I hadn't posted anything on my personal Instagram in 2 years. My account was practically a digital ghost town, but that night I broke the silence with a selfie at the gym and the phrase, "single on another level. Thanks for the motivation at Sierra Lee." 10 minutes later she blocked me. But before she did, her sister Sophia wrote to me outraged in a private message. "That was unnecessary. She's going through a difficult time." I replied only once. It was just as unnecessary for me to pretend to be single when I wasn't. That's how life works. Every action has consequences. I left her on read and felt incredible. For the first time, I wasn't caught up in her chaos, begging, apologizing, or justifying myself. He was simply living while she dug herself deeper and deeper into her own hole. The problem with Sierra is that she doesn't know how to exist without an audience. Everything she does is built around attention, approval, or validation. She believed that if she left, she would still have Marisol applauding her witticisms, Sophia covering her back, and Linda shielding her. Maybe she would succeed for a while, but I knew that sooner or later she would end up exhausting them too, because delusional people are like that, constant in their ruin. They burn through every backup plan, every safety net, until there is no choice but to face themselves. And I had a front row seat with popcorn in hand, watching as her best phase turned into a complete collapse. It didn't take long for her to take her next step. That Friday when I came home from work, I found her sitting in front of my apartment door with 2 huge suitcases. She looked like someone abandoned at a bus station waiting for a ride that was never going to come. Her hair was messy, tears were running down her face, smudging her makeup, and her sweatshirt was poorly zipped. Even the security guard showed me the cameras later. She had been there for almost 2 hours straight, as if she were participating in a contest for the most pathetic person in the world. As soon as she saw me, she stood up suddenly. "Adrian, please. I made a mistake." I leaned against the wall without even taking out my keys. "We can talk right here." She tried to approach the door. "We can't go inside." "No, just public conversations. It's safer that way." Clearly, that wasn't the response I was hoping for. Then she went into victim mode with a tragic voice. "I got kicked out of Marisol's house. Her roommate came back from Europe early, and to top it off, Eisen told everyone at work about our date. Now they call me a home wrecker. I have nowhere to go." I raised an eyebrow. "Well, you destroyed your own home. That's your problem." Her lip trembled. "My mother's house is very small. Sophia lives with her boyfriend and I miss us. Do you miss not paying rent?" I replied with a sarcastic smile. Immediately, the victim act was over. She replaced her tears with rage, her eyes lit up, and her voice rose in tone. "You owe me something. I lost 2 years with you. I decorated this place, I made it a home. You can't just throw me away like this." I raised my hand to stop her. "Correction. You threw yourself away the day you posted that you were single. Don't try to rewrite history." Just then my neighbor Tony opened his door. A burly man in his 40s, always wearing old band t-shirts. He leaned over and asked, "Everything okay, Adrian?" "Yes," I replied loudly enough for Sierra to hear. "I'm just explaining to my ex why she can't live here anymore." Tony nodded. "The same one who cheated with that Taliesin guy. My daughter saw it on Instagram." Sierra turned around, her face redder than a traffic light. She wasn't cheating, she was just looking at her options. Tony cut her off mercilessly. "Advertising for replacements, of course." And she closed her door as if she had dropped a microphone. I almost applauded her. Shortly after, the security guards arrived. It turns out she had told them at reception that she lived there and had lost her key. When they called me to confirm, I clarified that she no longer resided in the building, so 2 agents showed up with their forms ready to escort her. And that's when Sierra tried her most desperate move. "Wait, I'm pregnant." I couldn't help but burst out laughing. "No, you're not." Her eyes widened. "How can you be so sure?" "Because we haven't been intimate in 2 months. There was always an excuse. I'm tired. I don't feel like it. Another day. Remember?" It was the same old story every time I confronted her. Even the security guards seemed to have heard that story too many times. One of them barely managed to hide a mocking smile, while the other put his hand to his mouth pretending to cough, although what he was really trying to cover up was a poorly concealed laugh. And there she was, stamping her feet in the middle of the hallway like a little girl who had been denied a piece of candy. "You'll never find anyone like me," she shouted, her face red with anger. I didn't get upset, I didn't raise my voice, I just stared at her and replied calmly, "I pray to God that never happens to me." The guards grabbed her by the arms and escorted her to the elevator. With every step she took, she shouted accusations, that I had betrayed her, that I had wasted her time, that my fate was to die alone. I simply closed the door behind her, locked it, and collapsed onto the sofa. The silence that followed was liberating. Everything that had happened seemed so surreal that all I could do was laugh to myself. It was like a live show, an absurd comedy parody in which I was both the protagonist and the spectator. An hour later, my phone began to vibrate. I looked at the screen and the caller ID showed me a name I didn't expect. Linda. I hesitated to answer, but curiosity got the better of me. When I picked up, she didn't even give me time to say hello. How dare you humiliate Sierra like that? She shouted in a shrill voice that almost pierced my ears. She's desperate, don't you understand? You destroyed her reputation. I took a deep breath to stay calm. No, Linda. She destroyed it herself with her decisions. I replied in a firm tone without getting upset. She needs a place to stay, she insisted, as if her word had any weight in my life. That's not my problem. Then, as if she had lost her sense of reality, Linda played her most ridiculous card. If you agree to take her back, I'll pay her share of the rent for 3 months myself. I had to take the phone away from my ear and burst out laughing. It was so absurd that I thought she was playing a joke on me. Are you telling me that you're going to pay me to date your daughter? I replied in disbelief. Silence. An awkward and prolonged silence. Finally, Linda murmured in a low voice. She just needs support. That's really unfortunate, Linda, but it's not my responsibility. Goodbye. I hung up before she could entangle me in another of her manipulative strategies. The reality was clear. Sierra thought she had power over me. She believed that if she cried dramatically enough, screamed louder than anyone else, or told blatant lies, I would give in. What she never understood is that when a man disconnects from a relationship on a mental and emotional level, there is no turning back. For me, the game was already over. She still wanted to sell me her premium package of drama, but I had already canceled the subscription long ago, and of course, I knew that this wasn't her last move. People like her always find a new trick, but watching her play all her cards, the guilt, the manipulation, even a fake pregnancy, and fail at every attempt was better than any Netflix marathon. After a long time, I felt that no one could touch me. That feeling of freedom, of invulnerability, was indescribable. And the funny thing was that I even waited with a certain amusement to see what her next circus act would be. The answer came quickly. TikTok. A few days later, I received a message from my sister with a link attached. The text was simple. You're going to love this. I opened the link and there was Sierra, comfortably settled on Marisol's sofa with the front camera activated. Fake tears ready in her big debut, dating someone after emotional abuse. She had prepared the whole scene as if it were a professional production. Soft music in the background, a cup in her hands to appear wise and calm, and a speech rehearsed word for word. Healing from a relationship with a narcissist is about learning to recognize warning signs, she said in a solemn tone. For example, when you get upset and express your authenticity. The authenticity she was referring to was, according to her, when I didn't applaud her Instagram post declaring herself single while we were still living together. In another clip, she added, isolation is another dangerous sign, like when they prevent you from forming healthy friendships. I burst out laughing. Isolation. The only friendships I questioned were the men who drooled over her photos at the gym. The videos had only a couple hundred views. The comments were from her close circle. Women like Marisol or Sophia writing to her, "You're a queen, proud of yourself. Thank you for your courage." She, convinced she was about to go viral, kept producing more and more episodes. Meanwhile, I saved screenshots in my evidence folder. Not out of revenge, but because I know the pattern. People like her always rewrite history, and I prefer to keep receipts of everything. But as expected, it wasn't over yet. A week later, she had suddenly added me to a group chat with a title that spoke for itself. Intervention for Adrian's Commitment Issues. Among the members were Sierra, her parents, Linda and Daniel, Marisol, Sophia, and a couple of strangers. When I arrived, the first thing I saw was Sierra and Linda sitting in reception, dressed in formal attire as if they were going to court, each with folders full of papers, whispering to the receptionist and giving me looks full of false confidence. I remember perfectly the day when Human Resources called me into the office. They closed the door and the manager said to me with a serious face, "Your ex and her mother just came here claiming that you have anger issues that could affect your job performance." I couldn't help but laugh. It was so absurd that it seemed like a joke. I asked her if she believed them and she shook her head. "No, but we have protocols. Security is escorting them out of the building right now. In addition, they will be given a notice of prohibition of contact and will be banned from the premises." Hearing that was music to my ears. When I came out, I coincided with the exact moment when the guards were taking them to the exit. Linda was red with rage, while Sierra had a smug smile, convinced she had won something. That smirk vanished instantly when one of the guards scanned her visitor pass and informed her, "As of today, you are prohibited from entering this building." The way her face dropped looked like something out of a cartoon. For the first time, she understood that gravity exists. That same night, I reported several of her TikTok videos where she used my photos without permission. A week later, her account was suspended, and her career as a supposed emotional recovery coach ended before it even began. I thought that was the end of it, but she didn't give up. She created a fake Instagram profile, a random name, and started following me. It didn't take me long to figure it out because she made a childish mistake. At 3 a.m., she liked a photo of me from 2019 with my old car. Only someone as obsessed as her would start looking back years ago at that hour. I saved the evidence with a screenshot and blocked the account. The funny thing is that I no longer felt angry. I was actually having fun. Every desperate move sank her further, and all her efforts to portray me as the villain backfired on her. Best of all, I didn't have to do a thing. I was untouchable while she wore herself out trying to provoke a reaction that I never gave her. When you stop feeding the chaos, people like Sierra start to fall apart faster. And that's exactly what happened. While I lived peacefully, she accelerated her own self-destruction. First it was her job. Hassan, a friend who worked at the same company as her, called me early one day. "Bro, your ex is about to get fired. She spends her time recording TikTok videos in the bathroom instead of going to meetings. The boss can't take it anymore." And sure enough, a week later she was officially fired. The scandal with Yen, the guy she was stalking while she was still living with me, hadn't helped either. Her coworkers no longer took her seriously, especially after seeing her post videos portraying herself as a victim of emotional abuse. One of them told Hassan, "You're better off staying away. She's always crying over her ex." The woman who had called me boring and replaceable was now unemployed, homeless, and even banned from my building. Her family wasn't doing any better. Daniel, her father, called me one night saying in an exhausted voice, "This is the last straw. I can't tolerate the whims of your ex and her mother any longer. I'm going to get a divorce right now." For a moment I felt sorry for him, but only for a moment. Then there was Marisol, the supposedly unconditional friend, the one who blocked people on demand, who insulted me on social media, who wrote long posts calling me toxic. That loyalty crumbled quickly. I learned, thanks to an acquaintance, that Sierra had practically turned Marisol's apartment into his personal camp. He ate her food, never cleaned, made noise at all hours recording videos, and spent entire nights ranting against me. Marisol got fed up, waited for him to leave, changed the locks, and then sent him a direct message. "Don't come back, you're no longer welcome." Her sister Sophia didn't offer much support either. She wrote vague posts on Facebook like, "I'm disappointed by family members who don't know how to take responsibility." Everyone understood who she was talking about. Even she was embarrassed to have to justify Sierra. Meanwhile, Eisen, the guy at the center of the scandal, requested a transfer to another office. He packed his bags and left without looking back. Who would want to stay being part of such a circus? The last straw was his attempt to raise money. He created a GoFundMe page called Healing from Emotional Trauma, recounting a story of abandonment, unemployment, and an abusive relationship. He wanted to raise $1,000. The mistake was posting it on his public Instagram account. In less than an hour, Hassan shared the campaign in our group of friends, and the ridicule was immediate. Comments like, "Weren't you trying to get back to her apartment last week?" Emotional trauma pays for the grocery list. Even my friends donated $1 each with messages like, "For new batteries," or, "Buy yourself another shower curtain." The harassment was so intense that she canceled the campaign in 2 days. By then, I had already stopped paying attention to her. She was destroying herself. Meanwhile, I kept moving on. At the climbing gym in Escalada, I met Vanessa, a girl completely different from Sierra, fun, down-to-earth, with zero interest in social media. From our first time together, Macanini sent me a message that made me laugh. "Just in case, my relationship status matches on all my platforms." That's when I knew she was worth it. We started dating, and thanks to her, I completely forgot all the noise that Sierra had caused. No games, no drama, no fake tears, just tranquility. As if fate wanted to grant me one last victory, Sierra couldn't resist the temptation to make a fool of herself again. She uploaded a selfie with puffy eyes and messy hair, accompanied by the caption, "Single by choice, healing from trauma, ready for my new chapter." Someone commented, "Weren't you begging your ex to come back to you recently?" The post disappeared in less than an hour. That was her final act, erasing her own mess while I laughed, hanging from a climbing wall with Vanessa. Today, when I think about everything that happened, I'm surprised by the peace I feel. For a long time, I blamed myself, stayed up all night searching for answers, and let myself be consumed by arguments that led nowhere. But the truth is, I was never wrong. She needed the chaos to feel alive, and I just wanted peace. In the end, I discovered that the best way to win wasn't to yell or expose her, but simply to step back and let things slide. That she herself would show who she was. Every misstep distanced her further from the image she was trying to project. And while she was wasting away in an absurd game of lies and victimhood, I recovered something more valuable than any relationship: my freedom. There was no final speech or epic confrontation. Her defeat was silent, made of deleted posts, worn-out excuses, and doors closing one after another. I, on the other hand, found myself enjoying new experiences, surrounded by genuine people, and certain that my life no longer depended on her whims. I learned that you don't need to ruin anyone to move forward. Sometimes it's enough to stand firm, not give them the attention they crave, and focus on building something better. She was trapped in her spiral and I followed my own path. The most ironic thing is that I thought losing her would be a blow, but it was exactly the opposite. It was the beginning of everything that was truly worthwhile.